Hello, I'm Bliznub, and welcome to Building the Best. Today we're going to be looking at Bliznub Ash, more appropriately known as Ulti-Spam Ash, or Cinematic Mode Ash, and you'll see why in a minute. Now, with Ash's ultimate, the things we need to remember are that he can only ever hit 18 targets at a time, which actually means that having ridiculous amounts of power range doesn't add much, because within, here I've got 40 meters, within 40 meters I'm probably going to see 18 targets, or, you know, maybe 10 targets that I'll have to hit more than once in order to kill. So, yeah. Pros and cons to power range building, but definitely damage building on Ash, as Bladestorm deals finisher damage, which bypasses shields and armor, and is, without a doubt, the most effective damage type in the game for absolutely anything. No one is resistant to finisher damage. I say that, I think Forward might be, but he's weird. Anyhow, point is, what we're going for here is a damage build. So we start off with all 4 of our damage mods: Transient, Blind Rage, Power Drift, and Intensify. Blind Rage is only half ranked, so I can keep some efficiency in this build. And we move on then to Range, the next thing we want. And we only need Stretch and Cunning Drift for this, because honestly, like say, we don't need ridiculous amounts of Rage. We then have Fleeting Expertise and Streamline, dropping our duration down to absolutely nothing, which honestly doesn't matter at all for this build. We're not using anything duration based in it, so it doesn't overwhelmingly make any difference. And finally we have Steel Charge, which is for Ash Assault simply a damage boost, as melee damage comes into account. Though I'm not entirely sure how it's calculated, I believe it is just anything that buffs melee damage buffs his ult, and not based off your melee weapon. So anyhow, so what we end up with is a very efficient, very long range, very, very high power Ash ulti spam build. And this honestly is a lot of fun. Now, I do have a build with a bit more range and a tiny bit less efficiency and strength, but I prefer this one simply because it gets the job done. That 5,000 finisher damage and of course the slash procs it applies are ridiculously useful. And I believe, sorry, I just have to double check. I've said it too many times. If I'm wrong, I would be so embarrassed. Yeah, it's finisher damage. It is actually finisher damage. And that is fantastic. And it has a 100% chance of a bleed proc, or a slash proc as I call it, which then deals 35% of your initial damage, as in this case 5,000, as finisher damage again for 7 ticks over 6 seconds, which is incredibly powerful. And the last thing we have before I'm going to take this out and show you what it can do is Carrier. Carrier can actually pick things up during your ult, which means that energy troubles, which will of course be the worry with any spam build, will likely be solved by Carrier. And sorry, I said the last thing, I lied! There is also one other thing, which is Ceramic Dagger. We have a reasonable amount of range and a reasonable amount of power strength, so it's fair to say that if you come across any enemy that you won't be able to take out with this 5,000 damage, it may be simpler to teleport to the target and use teleports. When you teleport to a target, it immediately makes them vulnerable to finishers. So I have a dagger here with Covert Lethality on it. It's just my standard Ceramic Dagger build. A little dated now, but it still gets the job done. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. Let's go try this thing out. Because honestly, I love taking Ash for a Nightane Apple Alert? Ooh, I shall do that in a minute. But as I was saying, for any quick run mission, any exterminate, or even survivals and defenses, Ash in his Bladestorm spam build is ridiculously useful. And the only trouble is getting energy. And like I say, if you're killing enough enemies, you shouldn't have to worry about that. Alrighty, sorry about that. I just had to skip forward a bit because enemies weren't really spawning in. And it was getting rather frustrating. So hopefully, now the alarms have gone off, there should be a few more enemies. Just a few more. Any number, really. Well, preferably a number higher than 20, because I want to actually show off the Bladestorm to its full potential. I mean, honestly, level 60 enemies are nothing to... I guess I'm killing a sortie level Manic Bombard. But anyhow, what I was going to show was that Ashes 1 is still very, very effective with this build. Whoa, okay. Let's just clear the area and enter cinematic mode. So yeah, Ashes 1 is very, very effective with this build as a single target damage dealer. But probably not quite as effective as the ulti itself, because the ulti is incredibly cheap, I say, dropping an energy restore. And honestly is fairly spammable if you have any kind... If the enemies are dropping any amount of energy at all, or you have any kind of energy production in your squad. So that bombard? Oh wow, that bombard survived. Okay. Sortie level manic bombard that isn't dying to my ult. This is that energy pad still there? Oh bugger. So what was I saying about being able to teleport to targets and execute them? Oh, so yeah, as I was saying, whilst this wasn't a particularly effective demonstration of Ash's ult, hopefully I will find some more enemies in a minute and I'll be able to show you. But he is definitely a lot of fun. Okay, well I showed off how his teleport works and how his one worked, and now I'm gonna go elsewhere to show you how his Blade Storm works, because that was a little disappointing. Alrighty, well after that slightly disappointing sortie, I'm gonna spawn in some level 135 bombards. Ooh, do I want bombards? Yeah, why not? Some level 135 bombards and show you, hopefully, just how ridiculously good. Did I select one? No, I did select 20. Okay, cool. And show you, hopefully, just how effective Ash's ult is at killing ridiculously tough enemies strangely fast. So here we can see we have entered cinematic mode. We are now teleporting around the room, stabbing absolutely everything, for only a 41 energy cost, which isn't half bad. And to be fair, these guys do have a lot of energy, so it's going to take multiple hits to kill each... a lot of energy? Did I say a lot of health? It's going to take multiple hits to kill each one. But you can see just how effective this is. And that whilst I could get a little bit more power strength, or even a little bit more melee damage to buff up this build, hell, I could even put on an arcane, such as Strike or Fury, to buff up this build. I don't think it really needs it against common enemies. Even sortie level enemies, you won't really find that you need much more than Ash can offer. Although, to be fair, I did just die instantly there, but those were level 135 bombards after all. I'm actually going to go for Arid Heavy Gunners. At least then I'll have a chance to dodge. So let's try this again. Because honestly, this is ridiculously powerful. And if I enter my 5 here and go into Naramon, in theory that should buff up my damage a little bit more. And we can see, this is why I call it cinematic mode, is you just take your hands off the keyboard and mouse, you go and get a coffee, and you come back, and what you know, everything's dead. However, I'm going to need to stay in my ulti where I am invincible, because these are very high level targets, and my build doesn't have much survivability in it, because quite frankly, 95% of the enemies you're going to bump into will not survive a single round of this Blade Storm. You can see there, 20 level 135 Arid Heavy Gunners, fodder to Ash as Blade Storm Ash. So yeah. Anyhow, I'm sorry I had to go to the Simulacrum. I really don't like this thing, but it does show off just how well you can deal against absolute extreme enemies. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. As always, please like and comment below and subscribe if you want to see more. I'm just gonna throw a few of these up. Why not? I don't even know if these are different to Arid Heavy Gunners, but what the hey. So from me and from my glorious Ash, thank you for watching, and goodbye.